All right, men, welcome back to the BraveCo podcast. I have a really cool guest for us today. His name is Alex Weber. He is, he's a cool guy. He's a American Ninja Warrior. He was a host for a long time, played lacrosse, just done all kinds of stuff on television and professionally. He's not a life coach. You are a professional international speaker. And just a cool guy. So Alex, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Jason, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. And thank you for the kind intro. I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, it's always fun having a guy that, can climb Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever you call it with us today and hang out. But man, tell me a little bit about your past story, where you grew up, how you met God, and we're going to get into like some of your competition years pretty quickly here.
So cool. So cool. Yeah. So I feel like I've had a few different chapters. I was an accident kid. I like to lead off with that because it's the truth. And my mom says unexpected gift because she's a sweet little Italian lady. But awesome. I was an accident. Yes, my dad, I'm an accident. But it was, I say that because I kind of had my siblings around and then they went off to college and I became this kind of only child, really awkward, uncomfortable. I was getting bullied. And I think back to those years and I hated those years. I felt like I was always trying to hide, no sense of self or purpose. And I also would use humor and trying to really get how people were feeling for self-protection, to just try to like survive school or survive tough moments at home. I mean, and I say that because cut to now, and I'm like, I feel like so much of what I do now, I earned some of that training ground.
Yeah.
Being a scared kid and just trying to find our way. And I've had so many moments like that in my life where I see now God's hand in guiding things. At the time, I probably would have just said chance. And then later in life, I probably would have said universe. But my journey, especially with faith, it wasn't in my life. My mom was, really pressured in an Italian Catholic, that whole thing, rules and hypocrisy. And so she wrote it off. I wrote it off. And then in my 20s, I started to be like, hold on, there's some stuff going on here. There's energetics and there's frequencies and there's manifesting. And I could feel, I believe in spirits and my grandparents being and looking after me. And it wasn't until American Ninja Warrior where I started to feel it kind of percolating a little bit. But then I saw some of the cool, amazing athletes that I was getting to know: Daniel Gill, Grant McCartney, Maggie Thorne, Nate Burkhalter. I could go on and on and on. And I experienced faith in them. And I was like, what is this? This is pure. This is good. This isn't in a building that I felt uncomfortable because I wasn't wearing khakis. This isn't, people that I know who are lying and giving into greed, but then telling me I'm bad because I'm not, and there's amazing churches, of course, there's all that, but it cracked the veil for me of curiosity. I was like, what is going on here? And that was back in 2017. And
wow,
it's just started the only way to put it is I am so grateful for this journey with faith now. I'm 37. I have skepticisms on the world. I think I'm pretty smart. I've read some books. I've done some things in business. It is so cool to me coming to faith now with all of that, skepticism and every inch that I take in faith, every little millimeter that I crack open the door into my soul. It is so good and true. And I'm like, this is what it says it is. This is a playbook to lead a good life in a tough human experience and a tough world. This is the pillars. So Yeah, man. It's, there's a lot of chapters in there, from hosting with NBC American Ninja Warrior to then competing on NBC American Ninja Warrior, writing a book and being so blessed to be a keynote speaker now. I won US Lacrosse Coach of the Year. All those things I'm so proud of. Their achievements, their goals, put them on the bio, LinkedIn, super cool, proud of them. But if I had to distill it down, it's always been, okay, there's this flicker of something in my heart, and I just know I have to do it. I can wrestle with it. I can delay it. I can put it off, but I'm going to do this thing. And now as life's gone on, I've started to wonder, well, where did that flicker come from? Why do I have that flicker? Why do you, Jason, have a different flicker? Why does everyone have a different thing? And that's where I'm like, I believe that God does plant these seeds in your heart and my heart that are yours.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it, man. It's so cool. I'm curious. I got a lot of curiosity around American Ninja Warrior. Having grown up, watching it, and it's just such a cool sport, and was an awesome TV show. And I guess for starters, like, how the heck did you get into that?
Yeah, man, it's bonkers. Cannot say enough. It's been such a cool thing from the beginning, and with all the challenges. So NBC American Ninja Warrior is such a beautiful world, and Kent Weed and the entire team there who put it on is just, it's awesome. And when I got into it, so I played college lacrosse, then I won US Lacrosse Coach of the Year, and I was starting to do entertainment, but I was like getting into acting, and I didn't really like it. I felt like I was pretending to be someone. They're like, no, you suck. I'm like, cool. Do you validate? Like, all right, later. And then I didn't even know that hosting was a thing, but I'm like, oh, that's like, you're just how you are with friends. So I started to go after hosting, and truly, I took leaps of faith. Like, I remember my first hosting agent was like, yeah, I don't think there's any work out there. I'm like, are we teaming up? What is going on here? Like, one of the first opportunities that I got pitched for was NBC American Ninja Warrior to host this new series. And it was such a gift, so transformative, so life altering. And what was so cool about it was not only was I doing like hosting, which is like, hey, here we are in Oklahoma City. Check out how crazy this stuff is. They thought it'd be fun if I actually got up there and did the obstacles. And the whole thing was that the first year, just fail for everyone's entertainment. It'll be funny. Cool. Got you. Next question. Then season 2, they were like, you know what? For this series to work, you need to be good at this. It only works if you're good at these obstacles. Wow. So then I had to start training with the athletes. Like, literally, I would show up to these Ninja Warrior gyms with all the athletes who are competing, and I sucked. And it was so humbling and so frustrating, but I did it for a year, just busted my butt, and ended up getting good. We won an award, and that led to then being a competitor on American Ninja Warrior.
That's wild. So you started hosting the show from its inception?
No. So they started, as the show just exploded in popularity, they started kind of a new series, like an all access series, where I would interview the athletes, show off the course, and then attempt the obstacles. So that was in 2016. So I hosted 2016, 2017. We won this award and the series wrapped. And I was like, it was amazing, but I was also kind of heartbroken. And then I was like, okay, I'm done with Ninja Warrior. And then 2019, some of the athletes, I was still training with them because I just loved the sport. And one of the best Ninja Warriors, Flip Rodriguez, I'll never forget it. He came up to me. He's like, you should compete. Like, you're good enough to compete. And it was such a gift because I didn't see myself like that. So for someone accomplished to see me like that, that was the pat on the butt. Competed in 2019. 2020 broke my hand right before the competition. And there's a whole story there. Went into a really dark chapter, especially with what was going on in the world. And we can totally talk about that. Then competed in 2021. And yeah, man.
Dude, that's wild. What's it take? Like, I mean, how much training are you doing to get to like that level?
I would say a lot in one word, a lot. But there was two parts of it, because there's the physical athletic component, right? Which is like, I needed to start to get these muscles, like I played Division I college lacrosse. I played in the World Cup, but that's feet on the ground. Like I can be shifty and shoot and hit, but flying through the air, hanging by your fingertips, dude, I don't know what that is like. So there was that. And then, and this is what I share with people too, there's the grit that you just get. If you show up and do anything and you keep doing it, I don't care what that thing is, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. Our world wants to make it seem more cryptic, or a negative mind wants to say, you show up, you keep going, you're going to do this thing. And then the other part was mental, because I needed to start to learn what this whole world was and start to create some belief that I could do it.
Yeah, for sure. Gosh, dude, that's wild. What was it like the first time you got up there as a competitor?
Dude, surreal. I mean, every part, it's so cool. I mean, just, I'm so big on community, and there's 0.0 shot I would have started to compete or done it without the other Ninja Warriors supporting me. Zero shot.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. And it's, the show is in its own world. It's just such a spectacle. It's like professional wrestling, but it's actually like so freaking hard.
Yeah, you're actually doing it.
Yeah. And, for me, being the host, and this was such a cool moment, and thank you, God. And you're kind of stirring this up in my memories and my heart now, sharing on this. Man, when I was a failing host, I was also mentally a former athlete, because that's what they tell you. That's what the world tells you. Society tells you, oh, you're done. You're a former athlete. And I got pretty depressed with that truth. Not a truth. So when I was a failing host, I would look over at the athletes and I'd be like, that's really cool. Like, that's so awesome that they're competing.
Why do you say failing host?
I say it because, and I appreciate that, maybe I've gotten too comfortable with it, because I was a host who was asked to fail on the obstacles. And then I was a host asked to succeed on the obstacles, but I was still failing. It took that year of busting my butt to go from what I call failing host to elite competitor.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you now.
And so I think it was just so cool, because 2017, I would look over at the athletes who were competing and I'd be like, that's really cool. I could never do that. Like, that's impossible. And then to 2 years later, be competing, to me, proved just how cool this life is, and just how you don't know. Like, you don't really know what you're capable of.
One question I have is like, is this a full-time job for most American Ninja Warriors? Like, how the heck do they support themselves? Are you making enough money during the show to, like, have this be your full-time gig? How are people surviving?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, somewhat similar to lacrosse, which was my first love, and I played all my life and coached. And in that, you can build a life around it. Meaning, if you are to do high-level lacrosse or do high-level Ninja Warrior, you're probably coaching as well. And maybe you have like a sponsorship. And so you can build a life around it. And there's many athletes who do that.
Okay. That's rad. So when did you stop doing the show?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll compete again. Maybe I won't.
Okay.
My last year competing was 2021. 2022, I couldn't. Yeah, if the opportunity presents itself and they invite me back, and I would absolutely do it, because I love it. And you kidding me? How fun, how cool, it's just great.
Are you still training?
If that does it. So I trained my butt off. So I guess these answers go together. from 2016 until 2022, because I still trained. It didn't work out for me to compete that year, but I still trained all year. So from 2016 to 2022, that's 6 years.
Yeah.
I trained year round. If I had a talk in Nebraska, I would look up where is the Ninja Warrior gym nearby.
Wow.
Or I would make sure that I was getting X amount of pull-ups in every day, even if it was the off season, 6 months away from when we might compete. It was always on my mind. So after 6 years of that, I think I've also come to a place where and this is important, it is really important. We all want these glittery fairy tale closures to chapters. Yeah. Who freaking doesn't? Football's big right now. Who doesn't want to win the Super Bowl and retire? Jason Kels, Eagles, he's probably going to retire. What a terrible ending game.
Yeah.
We don't get to pick often how our chapters close. And so though I feel a bit incomplete, I feel like I have more as an athlete than I can prove. I feel like I have more that I can share in that experience. And if God willing, I get that opportunity, oh, baby, I'm in. But if I don't, I also realize that there is a lot of wonderful things that I can give my heartbeats to.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not writing this fairy tale closure of a chapter, it's okay. And I think that's part of, we're talking about masculinity too, is coming to peace with things, even if they don't have this perfect closure.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, most things in my life have felt like that, from, my first marriage that ended in divorce, and, just going down a journey of starting over again, right? Like, you don't get married with divorce in mind, or you don't grow up thinking, right, man, I'm that's going to be a part of my story. And then when it is a part of your story,
right,
it's like you have to pull yourself up from the ashes and start to write the next chapter of your life, which is a very, very challenging thing to do.
Yes.
And yeah, I've just done that so many times in my life, because most things in life don't turn out the way that you think they're going to turn out. Sometimes they turn out better. Sometimes they turn out worse. And sometimes it doesn't really matter. Like, if it turns out the way that you think it's going to, what matters most is how you actually deal with it, and what do you allow it to do in yourself, which is so cliche, but it really is true, because that's the only thing that you can really control, right?
So true. And I appreciate you sharing that, because it's, man, it's hard. It's so hard. I went through a hard breakup, and I'm by no means am I comparing a breakup to your divorce, but not everything in our world, everything is always compared. Not everything needs to be a comparison. We all just got our experiences. It's hard. And any time I think that we get rocked, and, for anyone listening, it's like, we're all good till we're not all good. And it's like Mike Tyson has that great line. It's like, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and it's like, when you can really get rocked, one of my big theses, and when I speak in the book and all of that, is you quit or you commit. Because at the end of the day, feel all the feelings, all the stuff. But at the end of the day, are we in or are we out on you? That's it. And if we're in on you, we're going to pick up the pieces. We're going to figure it out. We're going to move forward. We're going to chip away. It's not going to be perfect, but we're in. And, I think so often we can get trapped in this gray area between the in and the out. And for anyone listening, just go all in on you.
What does that mean to you?
For me, it means choice. Like, at the end of the day, if you really want to be out, you can be out. I mean, let's be big boys and girls here. If you want to be out, you can be out of this life. 100%, that is in your autonomy. You can decide to do that. You also have the choice to be in. And so I think where we get in the trap is that we're technically in on ourselves, but we're still listening to the voice that doubts us. We're still dimming our brightness. We're still not going to things or meeting new people or putting ourselves out there. Or if we are, the lies that, maybe our life just isn't going to work out as we thought, or our family doesn't have good luck, or we've made too many mistakes. I think it takes bravery, and I love that word, and we'll come back to it. I love that word. I think it takes bravery because you're saying, you know what? I have no idea what is going to happen, but I'm in. I'm going to choose the voice in my head that might love me. I'm going to take chances on myself. I'm going to put myself out there. And even if it's frustrating or embarrassing or humbling, I'm going to keep going. And I believe that things may work out. And for so much of my life, I've done that alone. Yes, of course, loving family and friends. Yes, thank you, God, for that. But at the end of the day, and I always say this, you are alone with you. At the end of the day, it's you and your soul. I don't care how many loving friends and family you got around you. It's you and you. Until recent years, when I've realized I'm not alone. And especially in this last season of life, which grew in 2020 and beyond with God. And that's really faith that, you know what, I'm in. And I'm in on what I can see today. And I'm going to do the best that I can do today and what I can see. And God, I have faith that even if there's hard moments I'm going through right now, you're doing something with it. You're giving me gifts. You're growing me. You're strengthening me. Even now, I feel so blessed to be in a quote unquote good season of life. I'm bursting with gratitude. And I think that's because it was just a season ago, man, I wasn't bursting with, I didn't have that good season of life. So I just now feel so grateful that I don't feel like I'm alone. And I'm scared a little bit of, oh man, there's going to be more tough stuff ahead because that's life.
Yeah.
But then, man, 365 times, do not be afraid. Okay. What's the opposite of fear? Love. I'll just try to work back to there.
Yeah. No, it's good, man. It's easy to quit and it's hard to stay. And that's just the reality, for all of us. I think people listen to the podcast and whatever, look at my life and guys like you, look at you and just think like, man, wouldn't it be awesome to whatever, be a ninja warrior and have all this success in your life and be a TV host and be an award-winning coach and a speaker or, they look at my life and go, it'd be so awesome to whatever, to have Chris Valentin as your dad or, be a pastor. And the truth is like, it's kind of all relative. Like every guy wakes up and has to make a decision. Like, what am I going to do with my fears? What am I going to do with my frustrations? What am I going to do with my doubts? And then how am I going to steward my life? And I mean, that's honestly, it's something that I face on a regular basis. The decision to not follow my emotions, but to follow what I know is the lamp before my feet, right? This path that God's put in front of me. And it does, you're right. It takes so much courage and so much bravery to be patient in the unknown and steadfast in things that aren't clear. And I think that that's the real struggle with, I think most of life is we're wired for, certainty. We want certainty. We want guarantees. I want to know that I have my retirement set up and it's all taken care of. And I want to know that, there's the economy's solid. And I really want to know that my health is going to be perfect. And because we need certainty. But then when we take a step back, we realize like there's not actually a lot of certainty in life. We found that out in 2020, right? During COVID is what you think is certain is not certain. And, what you think you can control, you can't control. And the real game for us men it's the battleground of the mind. Who controls your mind and what controls your mind? Because the only thing really holding us back from succeeding in life is the story that we're telling ourselves. And to go all in is to tell yourself a story that, partners with what God's saying over you. But it's just as easy to, to bow out of that, because you only have to quit once, but you have to show up every day in order to succeed. It's like you only got to quit once to be out, but you have to show up every single day, day in and day out, to like keep it going. I'm curious, how do you keep yourself motivated?
Well, I mean, as you say that, I appreciate it so much. I would say perspective. How freaking fortunate are we? And I don't want to, and I check myself too. Oh, I'm having a rough day. I had too many Zoom calls. I got to take 2 planes to get here and it got delayed. Hold up, bro.
Tough life. Yeah.
How freaking fortunate are you? How freaking, did you haul up stones up a mountain while people whipped you? No, I didn't do that. Are you in a battleground right now? Did you just freaking lose someone you love yesterday? Nope, none of that. How freaking blessed and fortunate are you to get to be here, to get to live this life, to get to do all these cool things. And I'll also say, yeah, of course, there's going to be moments where you feel stressed or you feel like this day just sucks. Or I've had like an edgy day yesterday where I was on the phone with all these different people and things are falling apart around the house. And it's like, yeah, you're also a human being in this world. So both of those things can coexist. I would just say perspective has really helped me. And the more stressed or annoyed or at your wit's end you feel, to me, the higher you have to go out in the perspective until maybe you get to a really high place out, which is just like, you know what? Thank you that I get to live. You know what I mean? Like, that's great. Like, thank you so much. That would honestly be my biggest, and the other one that I'll say is there's gifts of the day. So I very much believe in something that I share is that your challenges create your gifts. So if you decide, I mean, you're making this BraveCo podcast, you've decided, okay, I want to reach a lot of men in Christian masculinity and I want to do this. In you doing this, yes, it's going to be hard and there's going to be ups and downs, but there's going to be gifts that occur for Jason and for your community just by you all saying, we're doing this thing, right? And I also believe that there's gifts in the moment and there's gifts in the day. So even if you're having a rough day, it's helped me to be like, all right, what are the good things that are happening here that I'm earning even by going through this not that cool thing? Am I getting some more grit? Am I getting some more empathy? Did I need a little humility? Is this going to fuel my gratitude tank for when things are on the up? It's a little bit of playing mind games, but just like you said, we're trying to win this game, right? All right. So if we're trying to win this game, let's get a little gamey with it and figure out ways to get back where we want.
Yeah, it's cool. James 1 says, consider it pure joy or hilarious laughter when we fall into unexpected trials, for the testing of our faith produces perseverance. And when perseverance runs its course, you will lack nothing. And it's this really incredible story about hard things are going to happen, right? But if you, in order to be able to persevere to the end, because James says that if you persevere to the end, you won't lack anything. And so I always ask guys, like, how many of you don't want to lack anything, right? You want to have self-confidence. You want to have connection with God. You want to be financially successful. You want to be physically, successful. Like, everybody wants that. We're all looking for that. And James says the secret to that is to be able to go through trials, right? To be able to persevere, which one of the fruits of the Spirit is long suffering, is perseverance, which is a very hard thing to do. But James gives us a secret to it. He says, consider it pure joy. That the very first part of that verse is the antidote to suffering, to trials, to hard times. And Philippians 4 gives us another piece of this puzzle. It says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness and kindness be evident to all. The Lord is near. And it says, if you need anything, go ahead and ask God, and he'll give you what you need, right? And then it goes on to say, focus on these things, whatever's lovely, whatever's praiseworthy, whatever's holy, whatever, focus on these things. And the God of peace, which surpass all surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and your mind. And it goes on to repeat that same thing. It says, again, like, whatever's lovely, holy, praiseworthy, whatever's worth your time, whatever is worth your focus, whatever's worth your energy. It says, focus on these things, and the God of peace, which surpasses all of understanding, will guard your heart and your mind. It's just such a crazy verse, because our job is to focus on whatever is holy, pure, praiseworthy, or to rejoice in the Lord. And if we can do those things, right? If we can take our mind off of the trial, off of the challenges, off of the hard things, and get it back onto what God is doing, who He is, what is happening, then we get this peace, we get this life that we didn't conjure up, we didn't have to make up. It's God. It's the peace of God, which goes beyond our understanding. And I just think that that's such a big key to living life all out and being courageous and living with living a brave life is you got to have something. You have to have some source to access that's beyond you, because life is so challenging. And to me, the gateway, the doorway into that source is thankfulness, is gratitude, is praise, is worship. And not the type of praise and worship that we think on a Sunday morning, but I praise and worship with what I think about, what I meditate on, what I focus on. It's changing the story that I'm telling myself. And that's a tough thing to do.
I love so much. I mean, gosh, there's so much there, and surpasses all understanding. How powerful is that? And also perseverance, you will lack nothing. So surpasses all understanding, I think, is such a cool, how true is that? And I think and I share on this, I went through a phase, which I think a lot of people go through. And I've witnessed this through some of people I know on social media from different chapters of my life, where I think you almost get a little arrogance because you start to see science and math and reason. And you're like, oh yeah, all these people over here, these crazy faith nuts, they just want a security blanket. They just need something to believe in, when like, really, look over here. We got all this math and good, and surpasses all understanding. To me, it's almost like this math and the science, it's amazing, but it's almost like commentary. It's like a commentator trying to explain Odell Beckham Jr. doing a one-handed grab in the end zone. And you're like, yeah. I get the nuts and bolts, but like, that's amazing. He still did it. And so surpasses all understanding. I mean, dogs hear sounds that we can't hear. There's lights that we can't see. Like, we have these sixth sense, five senses. What do we got? Six senses with Bruce Willis. We got five. We got these five sentences, but how arrogant would it be of us to think that we can actually see, know, understand everything that is going on in this cosmic creation? And as I am learning more and more and more and more about faith, and I'm so grateful to be on this journey, I'm blown away. To me, it all comes down to, do you believe or do you not? You will never know. Do you choose to believe or do you not? In my understanding and in my education, which is ongoing and imperfect, that has blown me away. Of like, it really comes back. Do you choose to believe in Jesus Christ or do you not?
Yeah.
Do you choose to believe in God? Do you choose to believe in acknowledging everything that you just said, or do you not? And the second part of it is that the stakes, in my society informing me about Jesus and God and Christianity and afterlife, it all seemed pretty frilly and clouds and just be a good person. And in reading the Bible, the stakes are a lot higher than I thought as an ignorant person not knowing. And Jesus doesn't speak as cloud and fluffy as I thought for most of my life. It's pretty clear on the stakes. And so I just think, I don't think it's an accident that we're deceived. I think there's evil at play that wants to deceive us. And those are my two biggest takeaways right now, is that the stakes are very high, and then it comes down to your choice of do you believe or not.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. I'm curious, what's next for you? Do you have, some things that you're chasing after and goals you're trying to achieve? Where's your focus right now?
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I'll say, one is I feel so blessed to do speaking, and I love it so much. So I want to do that, pedal down to the highest degree, and just help and impact and inspire as many people on earth as I can in my heartbeats. And also, man, I want to be in a godly union, a marriage. That's like just, that's something I would love. And, man, it's truly growing in my faith, because, I'll just say I've strayed away. We're all human and you stray away, but like when I feel aligned and connected with God, and like, I feel like who I'm called to be. Like, I really feel like I'm doing the right things in the quiet moments that no one's seeing. Man, that feeling of peace and love, and just like, that's beyond understanding. And it's so freaking easy to get away from that. It's so easy in this world, and I'm not making excuses, but it just is. And so I want to be in that light.
That's cool, man. I love it. Well, all those things are, right at your fingertips, man. So that's awesome. It's cool, to have a life that impacts other people. And we're all really called to that. There's so much fulfillment in taking your story. Yeah. We always say in BraveCo, weaponizing your story, right? The hard things, the things that you used to be ashamed of, things that you want to hide, take those and give those to guys, individuals, that helps them out of the dark places, the holes in our life. And so I just love that you're doing that, and that you're on that path, man.
Thanks, man.
Anything left that you want to just challenge the guys with real quick?
Man, you kind of, I wasn't planning on sharing this, not out of hiding anything. I just wasn't planning on sharing it, but you just hit on something. I'll just say, man, I'm sober now. It's been 2 years and months, and, man, I'm a beast in a suit, and I feel like some of your audience will relate to that. Like, we just want to go hard. We want to like do the gym and crush life. And then you want to like have fun. And I got to a place really in 2020 where my relationship with that was less out of a celebration and fun, and more out of a disengagement, escapism. Let me just have a temporary relief from my life. And if that hits home for you, brother, anybody listening, care about yourself enough to commit and start to create a life that you don't want to escape.
Yeah.
And I promise that it will not be overnight, but I also promise momentum is real. And if that's just tugging on you, because I get it. I've run a men's community. It's called Men We Admire. I've done it for 3 years. Man, I love dudes. I've been around dudes my whole life. And we've all got our thing. So I'll just say, whatever your thing is, if it's alcohol, if it's pornography, if it's weed, if it's whatever it is, chasing too many achievements. And we all know that stuff.
Yeah.
Just take a look at it. And, if you feel it in your heart, you already know the answer. So that's, I guess that's feel cool. Compelled to share that.
Nah, that's awesome. Yeah. There's so many men that I know today that are starting to quit things like alcohol and smoking, like even cigars. And I'm not like poo-pooing on whatever, if guy wants to have a cigar or have a drink, but ultimately, that stuff, a lot of that stuff just leads to inflammation in your physical body. And like you said, a great escape. And well, I always just want to be able to handle life without having to have a substance to handle life. And that's not always easy. I mean, even for me, it's not always easy, but, I I never started drinking because I always said I didn't want to have to manage it. And I didn't want to have to acquire a taste for something. Same thing with cigars. I didn't want to have to manage it. And so that's really benefited me. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of guys right now, that I admire moving more and more away from, alcohol, especially heavy alcohol. And it's a journey. It's a tough thing, because you have to learn how to manage your emotions, and you have to find another healthy go-to to help you, do life. And there's some sadness in it too, because like, I don't know, a lot of my friends getting together and having a cigar is kind of it's the hangout thing to do. It's what they would rally around. And so having to find a different thing to rally around can be. But yeah, I like that, man. Thanks for the encouragement. And thank you so much, Alex, for coming on here. I really appreciate it. I think your life, what you've been through, where you're headed, it's an inspiration. And I love bringing guys on here that are inspiring our men to move forward, to take chances, to take risks, to go after life wholeheartedly. And you're doing that, man. So I appreciate that.
Jason, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. And grateful and honored to be here with you.
Yeah, man. All right, BraveCo men. Hopefully this episode blessed you. If you liked it and enjoyed it, please leave us a comment, share it with a friend, and go ahead and rate the podcast as well. So we love you guys. I will see you next week. Hey, BraveCo men. Hopefully you loved this week's episode. Listen, if you have not subscribed to our podcast, you are already behind. Go ahead and click right here to subscribe to our podcast. And if you have not watched last week's episode, you can click right here and watch last week's episode. And listen, if you want to upgrade your wardrobe, you can check out some of our new hats that we have in stock and all our other swag. Go to braveco.org and you can look at our store there. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.